Good evening and welcome to I'm Listening, Stay Connected. I'm Listening is a 24/7, 365 initiative that works to destigmatize mental health. We have a great show planned for you. We have singer Ally Brooke and psychotherapist and author Dr. Tammy Nelson. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. I want us every day to be focusing on mental health, but especially during May, do the difficult work of really zeroing in on that. Mental health is an important part of our overall health, even our physical health. So our culture makes it often very difficult if you are someone who is not fitting all the normative standards and expectations. It is about reducing shame. We all carry a lot of shame with us, and it's very difficult to have good mental health if you are carrying shame around some aspect of yourself, whether it's your body, your sexuality, your gender expression, whatever it is. We want to focus in on what is our shame and what are ways that we can alleviate and work through that. Well, shame is maintained when we hide, when we lean out of it. So Mental Health Awareness Week and month, we want to be talking about that shame. That is how we increase our mental health. Now, remember, every time we talk about our mental health, we are normalizing it for ourselves. We're getting ourselves comfortable sitting and feeling things, but we're also getting those around us comfortable with them hearing their mental health discussed and our mental health. So it has a more global effect. So do that work with all the important relationships in your life. This is just general relational skills, learning how to have more intimacy, more depth. Because remember, intimacy is also those parts of ourselves that make us anxious. So start talking about your mental health and asking those around you when you come in contact with them, how is your mental health? I'm watching a lot of celebrities start to post more on their social media and talk about their own mental health struggles. And I think that that's beautiful because it's normalizing. And again, it's getting culture really familiar with hearing these things discussed and knowing that this is just a common part of a lot of our lives. And it's nothing to necessarily have any shame about. All right, now let's go to Ally Brooke. Ally, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I am doing great, thank you. How are you doing? I'm so happy to be on today, I have to tell you.
Oh, thanks for being a part of it. We're excited to have you, and I'm doing well. I'm trying to do my own work and focus on my mental health, so I'm focusing a lot on self-care. How is your mental health?
You know, it's funny because during this quarantine, well, I'm usually kind of like a positive person. I love being around people. I love working what I do, singing, being out on the road. And I've kind of found that during this quarantine time, I think like everybody, I found that my emotions are kind of up and down. You know, I have my good moments and my challenging moments where I sometimes feel fearful or anxious or unsure about certain things. But right now I'm doing well.
Well, thank you for saying all that. I mean, that was very vulnerable. And I want people to get more familiar hearing others talk about anxiety and fear because it's a normal part of life. And also like this is a special time. And so I'm also telling people, allow it. Don't panic when these things arise, these new emotions that we're not necessarily familiar with.
Yes, and I love that. And it's so great that, you know, you do see so many people coming forward and being vulnerable in their experiences and what they're feeling. And that makes me as an artist and as a human being just feel like I'm not alone. I feel like a lot of what helps me to get through situations is knowing that I'm not alone. So it's nice that people are coming together during this time. I think it's so beautiful.
Well, looking at a lot of the interviews and things you've posted about and talked about, you've been really good about being very vulnerable and humanizing yourself. You talked a lot about insecurities and empowerment. So talk to us a little bit about your journey around finding empowerment.
Oh man, it's definitely been such a journey. Well, I was in Fifth Harmony, the girl group, and then I transitioned into being a solo artist, which was such a journey in itself, of course. And I had to find the right people around me, the right team, the right support system. They're everything in this business. You know, it feels like they shape you and they make you to an extent. And having that foundation of good people around me, healthy conversations, they challenge me. And they're also people that I can be honest with, and they'll hear me and encourage me, even when I have, you know, moments of not doubting myself, but maybe unsure of a certain decision or what to do about something. That's been everything to me, is having that foundation of a team who I can go to and trust and feel safe with. So Yeah, that's really important to me.
It's a vital part of mental health, having a really good community around you that speaks to the best of you. And so it's kind of what I'm telling people to come out of this with. Really check in with what kind of people do I have around me and the impact they have on me.
It's so true. And I'm learning, I really am learning so much during this quarantine time. I'm learning a lot about myself, and I'm kind of being faced with the mirror, so to speak, of who really is Allie, what's important to her, what makes her tick, or what makes her anxious, or what makes her sad or unhappy. And it's been really powerful to finally kind of come face to face with those emotions and feelings. And I'm working on myself in so many different ways. Of course, always staying creative on my passions and my music. That's my everything, my happy place. But it's nice on a personal level to work on myself, and that's why I'm so happy to be talking to you today, because I've never had an interview like this where I've talked to a doctor like you. And so I feel really safe, and I feel like this is such a nice, it just feels so wonderful to feel vulnerable and safe. I don't have to be a certain way or be like on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, authenticity. It's one of the most important parts of mental health. And I'm really trying to get people to feel comfortable tapping into that, whatever that even means. And so when I say that word to you, what comes up? I mean, one of the things I'd love for you to speak to in reference to authenticity is you were talking about your Mexican heritage. And I know that it was important for you to put out some music that was in the Spanish language. And so
Yeah.
representation is a huge part of mental health, seeing ourselves reflected back in the music world and media. So how does that all tie together for you?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Just being able to be myself through my music and my image and what I put out there is so important. In a group, of course, you're a group, so you have to maintain a certain image and, be part of something. But as a solo artist, it's fully you, everything down from your hair to your makeup to the clothes you wear. I believe fashion is a way to express myself too, and down to every single detail. I've learned just to be myself, as cliche as it sounds. I've actually had a hard time struggling with that in this business because you get so many opinions, and social media doesn't help all the time, even though now it's become so much better. But it's so important for me to represent who I am, which is a Mexican American girl from Texas. All my different fusions of culture and family and what that is, and put that in my music, as well as the other influences that I have. It's really great to be encouraged too by my team around me to say, "Hey, Allie, like, we're here to represent what you want, not to tell you who to be or what songs to put out." And that's everything to an artist.
Well, congratulations, because a lot of people may be stepping out from being in a girl group where they have other people that are taking some of the tension and it's not specifically and only on them. I mean, you've risen to the occasion. I can hear the empowerment when you talk about being yourself and standing on your own. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. It has been such a journey and to get here, truly. And I'm actually writing a book, and I'm so excited about it. And you'll see in my book just how big and broad, and how in ways very difficult my journey has been, but how I've learned to find myself, and how I got from A to B. So I can't wait for people to hear my story, and hopefully it inspires people to go after their dreams and to be their best selves in this world, because it's so powerful and it's so freeing when you can truly just stand up on your own and say, "This is who I am," and you have all the confidence in the world.
Well, I'm excited for you. A book is just yet another level of vulnerability to putting more of yourself out there.
Yes. And I actually have a hard time being vulnerable. I feel like I've gotten better at that in the past few months, but I think it's something, I don't know, I guess I feel like sometimes as an artist, I want to be the strong woman for people in this light. But I realize that just because you're vulnerable doesn't mean you're weak. That actually is such a big strength. And so it's been a journey. And yeah, I'm a little not nervous about the book, but being so vulnerable, it is scary. But I'm also 100% more than excited, more than proud of what it is. And I know the day that it comes out, it's going to be a milestone for me, and it's going to feel like nothing else in the world.
Yes, stay in that vulnerability, because I'll tell you, it's a beautiful thing and it is empowering to see someone living and standing in their power, but we often feel closest to someone when they're willing to share their weaknesses with us, and that's what really feels most transformative. So keep doing that. And quickly, tell me a little bit about self-care. I'm asking everyone about that as well. What are you doing in this time right now to really focus on self-care?
Well, for me, that's like an umbrella of so many different things. I guess things that make me do feel better is even something as simple as baking or cooking. I love doing that. It's very therapeutic for me. Also, taking time when I need time to just decompress or like watch a movie or not like work or think about work. I'll do that. I also love when I can talking to my friends or my parents about my feelings or about my day, just to not feel alone and to help me through my emotions during this time. But those are kind of some of the things. Does that count what I said?
100%. I mean, self-care is whatever we can do that uplifts us, nourishes us, leaves us feeling better. And I smirk when you said cooking, because I smirk whenever someone says cooking, because I'm fighting it. I don't want to do it. I refuse.
Oh, I love that. We're totally opposite.
Yeah.
I find that it's just so therapeutic for me. I mean, the dishes, well, actually, washing the dishes too is a little therapeutic as well.
All right, come on over and wash mine then. I'll give you all the self-care you want. They're loaded up and waiting.
Right. I might have to go to your house and do some cooking and washing.
All right, please. So I want to ask you about music and its impact on mental health. But before we do, I want to congratulate you. All Night with Afrojack hit #1. Congrats. That's big. Well done.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you. It's such an amazing feeling. I can't really describe it. You know, again, going from a group to a solo artist and then working so hard at something and having my first #1. It went #1 at dance radio. It was so incredible. So I celebrated that, and I'm so proud of that record too, because it's just a feel-good, positive, fun song that everyone can listen to and everyone can feel good and free. And I'm so glad that people have loved it. There's really no greater feeling.
Yeah, we need more uplifting music like that, but we're going to listen to a quick clip of All Night right now.
Out of my mind, out every night, just so I could feel this way. Out of control, irrational, now that you're stuck on my brain. Something about the way you're following my lead says you wanna leave the party with me. I've been hearing love songs playing in my dreams. I got your name written all over me. We're in it together, an infinite high, and we can keep on dancing all night. We don't need forever, but now it feels right. Yeah, we can keep on dancing all night, and we can keep on dancing all night. Yeah, we can keep on dancing all night. Where have you been?
All right. I saw you bopping. We were all bopping over here in the studio too. That's a good one.
Hey, thank you. I love that song, and it's so awesome to be working with Afrojack. Like, I'm such a fan. So
Oh, I've
it's
been a
just
fan forever as well. Phenomenal stuff. So talk to us about mental health and music. How do you think mental health has impacted music and your music has impacted your mental health?
Oh my gosh, music is therapy. Music, it expresses you in a way that real words can't. And I just have a million thoughts about that. For me, when I hear music, it just takes me to a whole different place. It uplifts my mood. It encourages me. It can turn a bad day into a good day. It can help me to find inner strength. It can help me to find confidence or to find resolution with something. I really believe in music heals. And for me, being able to create that music is such a blessing and a gift. Oh my God. And being able to make someone feel that way through my music is an enormous, enormous blessing. And all of it is linked together. You know, fans come up to me or they write me on social media and they tell me how my music has impacted them or helped them out of a dark situation or helped them find their faith or whatever. And it is such a beautiful feeling.
I love that. I've worked with so many clients that have said the same thing, where music has literally saved them. It's helped them express or feel something they couldn't otherwise.
Yes, it is so true. And I just feel when I'm singing, I feel so brave on that stage and like a different person, and that I can fully be myself, you know, and it's hard as a woman and just as people sometimes to feel like you can be who you are and accepted, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, music just makes me feel like nothing in this world does.
Beautiful. Ally, we had some questions that came in from fans I'd love for you to answer with us.
Of course.
This first question asks, besides seeing your fans and performing, what are you most excited about and looking forward to when you're able to tour again?
Oh, I love that. Traveling, for sure. Being able to finish the tour and go to the different cities that I wasn't able to go to, including my hometown, San Antonio, and including Florida. Maybe I can make a trip to Disney World if it opens up when that happens. And then New York. I'm so excited to travel again, see my favorites.
Beautiful. This other question asks, what is your best advice for someone who's on the journey to love themselves?
Man, best advice. Just know that it is a journey. And, you know, I'm in my 20s and I feel like I'm still, I don't want to say discovering that because I love myself. But, you know, it's a battle. It's a daily battle to feel good and to feel complete and to feel whole and to not feel insecure. Oh my gosh. But know that if you put your best foot forward and you continue to work on yourself and be kind to yourself, give yourself credit. I think that's the number one thing I would say. You know, if you need a moment to cry, or you need a moment to be emotional, don't try to just push it all down. Feel that. And know that you really do have so much worth. Don't compare yourself to other people. That is toxic. Oh my gosh. Please take it from me. But yeah, just be kind to yourself and take it day by day.
Ally, that was stunning. There's so much in there. Don't compare yourself to others. Have care and compassion for yourself. Feel all your feelings. It's a life's journey. That was really solid. We have another question. This one asks, what has been your favorite quarantine pastime or one new thing you've learned?
Well, going back to cooking and baking, that
Always.
right? I'm a foodie, so I just love food. I love to bake, love to cook, blah, blah, blah. But also, I love watching films. Getting lost in a movie is one of my favorite things. I recently saw Forrest Gump for the first time, and I bawled. It was so beautiful. And there's so many movies that I've caught up on that it takes me to an entirely new place and a new world, and I love that. Film for me is also like therapy. It just brings me so much joy. So I think watching movies.
All right. And we have one final question. This is a good one. It says, how far along are you in your book? Also, can you tell us when What Are We Waiting For is coming out? So excited.
Yes. Okay. So my book is basically done. I'm in the final stages of it. So that's huge for me because it was such a long process. And I have such care for this book that I'm at a place where I feel so proud and I'm just kind of tweaking, nitpicking, cleaning it up. So that's exciting. It'll come out this fall, 2020. And then what are we waiting for? I believe that will come out in the next 3 to 4 weeks.
All right.
Yeah. But also another Afrojack one. Ow!
Ally Brooke, thank you so much for being a part of the show and for doing everything you're doing. The positivity is emanating off of you.
Thank you so mumuch for having me. Thank you for the kind words. I love chatting with you.
Have a great night.
You too.
I love that. So many takeaways. And just I want to highlight the whole part about being caring and compassionate towards yourself. This is a difficult time right now, and life has a lot of journey ahead for us. We got to be loving, let ourselves feel everything we're feeling. And I love what she said about not comparing yourself. It is so easy these days with social media to think we have to live up to what everyone's doing. I know I'm battling that with the cooking, which I refuse to do. Y'all are doing good baking that bread, though. Well done. If you want to join the conversation, you can always do so by sending your questions into the DMs on our Loveline IG page or by tweeting them with the hashtag I'm listening. We'll be answering those throughout the show and also throughout this week. This question asks, I already struggle with depression and it's been worse with quarantine and having to work from home. I'm dealing with what feels like negative thoughts. What can I do? It's a lot of new things that are coming up for different individuals that aren't familiar in terms of mood, where newfound levels of anxiety that isn't our standard or new levels of lower emotions, which isn't normally our baseline. First thing I want to say is don't be afraid of it. Know that for some of us, this is just a result of the quarantine environment that we're in, not having access to the world that we're familiar with. Allow some of it. We're practicing feeling all of our feelings. I don't want us to box them into right or wrong, good or bad. We want to feel a whole range of expressions and feelings and moods and emotions, but connect with others, talk about it. Sometimes that's enough to resolve it. We normalize it, we talk about it, but I also want to hold space for the fact that for some of us, it might be a little more extreme. And in that case, it's okay to reach out and get therapy. And at the end of the show, we always put up some hotlines you can call if you want to talk to someone. But I would say lovingly hold space for it, allow it, talk, stay connected, and also just make sure that you're allowing space for some fun and some joy in this time. We have one final question, and this one asks me, sometimes when I really need someone, I push them away so they don't see the worst of me. I'm working on trying to let people in, but it's hard. Listen, I think sometimes showing the most vulnerable parts of ourselves is how we can build the most beautiful levels and deep levels of intimacy. It's the most honest part of ourselves. So try to find the beauty in that. That's how we often walk away feeling like we really connected with someone, when we're able to show those vulnerable, weaker parts of ourselves. So try to find value in that. Right now, let's go to Dr. Tammy Nelson, psychotherapist and author and host of the podcast, The Trouble with Sex. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again. So as always, how are you doing right now? How's your mental health?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I think we've gone from acute shock to chronic stress.
I'm burnt out.
Getting used to it.
I'm burnt out. I hit the wall, I think a couple days ago, where I was doing all right, settling in, and I'm kind of now kicking and screaming a little bit, punching on the doors. I'm ready to get out.
Totally. I'm feeling so moody. I'm ready for the beach. I'm getting tired of the four walls, but I'm hanging in there, trying to make the best of it.
Good. So let's talk about how partners can discuss their mental health. We're trapped at home, round the clock. Some of my clients that I'm working with are having difficulty having some of these real conversations. What kind of advice do you offer?
Well, I love what you just said about don't be fake. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling uncomfortable, let people know how you're really feeling, what your real emotions are, and check in every day. How are you doing? And what is the story that you're making up about how your partner's doing? And the third suggestion I have is remember that the things that are really annoying you are probably not really the big things that they feel like now. Because they're leaving their socks on the floor probably a month ago wouldn't have been a big deal. Now they're probably driving you crazy. Maybe a month from now, they're not going to be a big deal anymore.
And that kind of brings us into the next topic. I like what you just said, where it's about letting go, but at the same time, we want to take some of it seriously. I'm working with some clients, and their big question is, how seriously do I take some of the relational dynamics? Because we don't want to ignore aspects of partners that are arising because that's real, but then it's also not during a real time because we're all stressed. So how do we manage that balance?
Oh, that's such a good question. Yeah, because some people are like feeling the cracks in the foundation and they're wondering, is this really, a real problem that we should really address? And is this going to be a sign that we should really break up when this is over? Or is this just the fact that we've been in isolation and we can't stand each other because we're just sick of looking at each other? And I think the sign that you should look for is, are you resolving your arguments? Are you able to take space for yourself? And are you able to say things that you are not going to regret later? So can you hold back from the really big kitchen sink arguments where you're throwing in everything that's ever happened to you? And are you saying things that aren't, personally hateful towards the other person? When it starts to get negative to the point where it's personally abusive, then you got to get some help.
Beautiful. Thank you for framing it like that. I mean, what's coming, some of the things we're laughing about as I'm doing my phone sessions is a lot of things they'll bring up. We go, quarantine, quarantine, that's why, it's probably what it's about. We're taking the serious things seriously, but also trying to hold some of the lighter things a little loosely, just going quarantine, brush it off. So you've got a lot of really great books out, and a lot of them will focus on infidelity, healing, working with yourself as the person who created or led the infidelity. Now, you also wrote a book related to that called The New Monogamy. Coming out of this time and all that's arising, how do you think that might impact monogamy or the way that we see or run our relationships?
That's such a good question, because I'm really curious if people are going to regress to more traditional relationships and be really close companions because they're really enjoying this time of spending, really intimate space together. Or if they're going to say, you know what, it's great to have this companionship at home, but let's stretch things a little bit. And even though we're primary partners, let's see if we can expand our relationship agreement to maybe include other sexual experiences or other sexual partners, because maybe we are really strong at our roots, but we can maybe shake things up a little bit because, boredom doesn't necessarily mean that we're not monogamous.
I like that. Boredom does not necessarily mean that we're not monogamous. Boredom's a funky thing. A lot of us aren't counting for the first time. I'm normally not a person that suffers from boredom, but it's been one of those new things that's emerged. I'm trying to lovingly examine and be curious about. We had some questions come in that I'd love for you to answer with us. This one asks, this is kind of along the lines of what we're talking about. How serious do I take flirting right now? I'm beginning to fall for someone I've been connecting and flirting with. I'm afraid they may just be doing it out of boredom right now. I would be pretty crushed if we got closer only to be ghosted when we're out of isolation. Any thoughts on how I should handle that? Wow, boredom does create a lot of different things.
That's so interesting because I think a lot of people are doing things out of a need for distraction. And so they're sort of seeking something outside of themselves, anything to distract themselves from boredom or from discomfort. And so, I think it's important to, really resolve that with this person. Are we just distracting ourselves from what's real, or are we actually taking more risks because there's not the threat that we're going to get too close too fast? So it's almost like this is like an old-fashioned get to know each other time where maybe we're going to have a longer courtship, and maybe that's better. Maybe we can go back to, writing each other letters and love poems, and
I love that.
And really getting more intimate.
I love that. But let me be bad cop for a minute and tell people, stop ghosting, more care and compassion, please, because a lot of people are getting beat up out there in the new dating online world, a little more care and compassion. You know what I mean? Be a little more thoughtful. All right. We have another question I'd love for you to answer with us. This one asks, had a horrible breakup in February, and being isolated has made it so much harder to move on. I'm still so heartbroken, and it's challenging not to be able to go out to distract myself. How can I help myself combat these negative feelings?
Well, it's actually really healthy to be home and sitting with your emotions. As painful as it is, these feelings are going to pass. All emotions pass, even the good ones. They're like waves. They peak and then they go away. If you feel them, if you're lucky enough to have the space to go through them, you'll suffer and then you'll get past it. And then by the time we're out of here, you'll be ready and open and healed and ready for a relationship. And that'll be perfect timing for you. So you can spend like your dark days inside watching movies, baking,
That's
or
right.
whatever you need to do.
Enough with the baking, please.
I know. You'll be a few pounds heavier, but you'll be ready to date.
I love that. Dr. Tammy Nelson, and the podcast is called The Trouble with Sex. As always, thank you for being a part of our show.
Dr. Chris, always a pleasure.
Have a beautiful night.
Thanks, you too.
I love that. I'm okay. I'm down for the old school dating stuff. I think there's something really beautiful in the letter writing, the long phone calls. Some people, that's a very foreign concept, sitting on the phone for a long time, falling asleep. It's adorable to me. But again, as always, care and compassion. There's another human being on the receiving end of those text messages and those dating apps. So just be thoughtful. We don't want to leave people worse off from having connected with us or tried to connect with others during this difficult time. So try to be someone who nourishes and leaves people feeling more empowered. I have a final question. This one asks, how can I help a friend who's going through a rough patch? She's a single parent who's lost her job and she keeps pretending that she's fine, but I can tell she's in it deep. I love the empathy and care and compassion that you're asking the question from, but you always want to honor people's boundaries. This person might not be ready to discuss. They might not be looking for a fix or a solution. So if you've already tried to get them to confide or share, open up to you, and they haven't, step back and honor that. Let them know that you're available, stay present, but they might not be ready or wanting to discuss that. And you don't want them to distance from you as a friend because they feel like you're forcing them into a conversation they're not ready to have. We will be back tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can check out all of our prior shows on all the handles for radio.com. And tomorrow we got musician Melanie Pfeiffer coming. So send your questions in, #I'm listening, or in our Loveline DMs. Thanks for hanging out with me. And as always, you all have an awesome, awesome night.